see if we switched.
Almost there.
Yeah, I think we have audio, and I think we're live. Hi everyone, welcome to Legends and Lore, the first episode where we will try and talk about Greyhawk and hopefully entertain you a little bit at the same time. So I'm Anna B. Meyer, and with me are...
This is Mike, Grayhawk Mike, on Twitter and on Twitch. Somebody might know me by Mortellin on Cannon Fire. Let's see, this is our first show.
Yep.
So I think we were going to start off by telling a little bit about what we do in the Greyhawk community.
Yeah, let you start, Mike. You're the
Oh,
the one
thank
that
you.
been there the oldest. You've been here the longest. Yep.
Is our audio and video okay,
Yeah,
everybody?
exactly. We need to ask everybody. I
Yeah,
saw that
before we
someone
get
said that
in
we
too
have
deep.
audio and video, so hopefully you have to yell out in chat if we're too loud, too low, or something like that. If it's jerky
Right.
or something.
Just anyone. Okay,
Okay,
we're
good.
good.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. I have a Greyhawk blog. It's called Greyhawkery, greyhawkery.blogspot.com. I also do a Greyhawk webcomic,
That is
Castle
on
Greyhawk.
yeah. That is on Patreon nowadays. Yep. It's
Yes.
awesome. Yep.
Let's see. I also belong to a podcast, gaming podcast. It's gamerstable.com, which is part of the RPG Academy, much like the Greyhawk channel. Let's see. You can also find a lot of my work on canonfire.com, which is the oldest Greyhawk fan site on the internet, I believe. The oldest.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
Yeah. And like I said, on Twitter and on Twitch, I'm Greyhawk Mike. And anywhere else you can find me, it's usually Mortellin. It's my handle from my old writing days. What do you got, Anna?
Well, after that CV, it's kind of tough to beat that one. But I've been kind of not everywhere. I guess the way I got into the Greyhawk community was I started mapping Greyhawk. I thought that I needed a good campaign map for my own home campaign, so I started doing it. Then the internet came around, so I started posting things on the internet, and it kind of took off. So I've been mapping
Mm-hmm.
Greyhawk since the mid 90s, 1990s, and kept it up as a hobby until about
A
5 years
long
ago
time.
when I moved to California about 8 years ago, and I realized when I moved to California that I needed to do something full time, get something to do. So I started mapping full time, and I finished my Greyhawk map, and then I've started mapping other stuff too. So I've been a bit of a heretic going back and forth, but Greyhawk is the one that I've done for fun and for passion, so to speak. So yep. And for
Let's
those
see.
of you that wonder
Yeah,
about my accent and stuff, I grew up in Sweden and I moved to
Sweden.
California 8 years ago. So I used to play back in the day with my Swedish friends, and now I've moved to California and I play a lot here, and it's yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Anna's the most interesting person you'll ever meet.
No. but
Oh, yeah.
we've had a lot of fun, and now have chance to meet Mike several times over, both at Gen Con and other conventions. So we've babbled Greyhawk back and forth, and so I thought it was, and both of us thought it was be time that we should do it online as a complement to the live game shows, because when
Yeah.
you run the live games, there might not be enough time and effort to dig into the setting and the backstories and the geography and the
So much.
histories and all the other stuff. So that's what we little bit of the goal for this. So please dig in here, Mike, and help us to find define what we're
Oh, boy.
supposed to do here. Yeah.
Well, first thing I got also shout out to any of my podcast friends who are watching. Shannon, I think probably Brandy,
Oh yes.
any of the guys. How you doing? And also my the old grognards from Cannon Fire. I know you're out there,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Saracenas and
Yep.
all yous.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much for
You know, we're
tuning
trying to
into
bring
this. And
together,
yep.
you know, the old gamers and new ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we have to remember we're new at this, so Twitch streaming and stuff like that. So we're trying
Ian
to get
Chain is
into
a
it.
hard act to follow.
Yep, exactly. So he's really tough. So now I'm going to see if I can do the
Right.
first little switch here and see. Oh yes, it worked. So here we have the settings. So now I'm going to show off. This is the newest edition of my map. That is not only my
Okay.
patrons have seen this so far in detail. So this is one of the screens when we talk about settings and stuff. We can hopefully
Ah,
zoom around and or like. Pan around and zoom in and when we look at things so we can kind of see things in detail, and I can turn on and off layers and stuff. So this is the one of the things that we have here that we can use.
Anna's got mapping tools that are beyond my imagination. I do most of my mapping the old-fashioned way on hex paper,
hmm
and
But they look fantastic, and we
you know
need
you
to
can actually
collaborate.
zoom
Yeah,
in on her stuff.
especially when you did that Doraka map of from the Empire I used, that was
Yes,
fantastic. We need to dig
yeah.
into that,
We'll
and
show that off sometime.
yes, and
I
we
can
have.
see my house too, Rheinglade.
hmm Yep. So here we have the so I can just for a couple of minutes just tell me tell the audience what the difference
What we're
between
looking
the
at.
old yeah well yeah, this is the oldest part of the setting here with centered around the city of Greyhawk and the lands of Greyhawk. That is now in the later part of the time that the campaign has been published. It's called the Domain of Greyhawk. It didn't used to be that, but it's became the
Yeah.
Domain of Greyhawk, and then we have the infamous Near Div, the Lake of Unknown Depths, and I have some interesting theories about that. We need to talk about in the
Um,
future episode.
so many topics.
Yep, so many topics, and I guess this episode will be kind of we will touch a little bit of all the things that we want to do in future episodes, so we can lure you back here again. So this is
We
the
will
yeah.
also take questions from those viewers because you spend enough time to sit down and
Mm-hmm.
listen to us yap.
Yep.
We can answer your questions as well.
Yep. Definitely. Yep. So I first wanted to check that the technology works. We can use this and we can
Yes,
display other
that's right.
things and stuff too. So yep, that's perfect.
Oh yeah, don't like the bright lands either, Jackal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is that's an interesting topic in itself. And deserts are kind of rare in the Flannies. It's almost like we need to have like it's almost like these.
That's,
It's rare country that needs to be protected in some ways. So yep,
yeah, that's a topic in itself.
yep,
Deserts of
yeah.
Greyhawk.
The
Yeah,
only deserts are the ones that are man-made or made by cataclysms and
there's
various
something behind every
calamities
one
and
of them.
stuff. So yep. So we need to look out for the rest of Earth
That's
to
right.
find the
We
really
come.
big ones. Yep.
Yeah, the Empire of Solm is
There you
where
have it.
Rary the Trader is squatting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Hang on a second. We can go back into the map here and we can go down to here we
For another reference, here is the same
oh yes.
area that
Mm-hmm.
Anna was showing. This is
Mm-hmm.
a Rob Lazaretti map
Yep,
from
the
the four-part
Paiso.
map from Dragon
Yes,
magazine.
exactly. Paiso released that awesome set of. That was the second. First we have the Darlene map from the 80s, and then
Mm-hmm.
came Lazzaretti's maps in the 90s, and then I made my maps in the 2000s, so to speak. So there's like at least
It's a
three
timeline.
different takes on Greyhawk. And I think they're both, all three are awesome in their own right. Darlene for being the iconic first map, and her calligraphy is simply fantastic. And she has done the if you see the screen here, I have to brag a little bit here. She had done the font for this. It's her handiwork. So yep, so she created I
Nice.
yep, I she made the font for me to use on the maps and in this. So that might be something that might be available to everybody soon. We hope so.
Let's talk about Cayuse. I don't know if that's good for our
Oh,
first show.
that's a tough one, but it's oh, that's awesome. That's one of the villains that I think it's. I don't know that much about him, but it's
Yeah,
the one with the worms and stuff, right? From the Age of Worms.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Bavix of Greyhawk has thrown out some
Yep.
zingers right
Oh,
now.
that's awesome. Cayuse is
Um,
something we definitely need, and
yeah.
because the Age of Worms is one of the iconic campaigns of Greyhawk, just
Adventure.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
the Temple of Elemental Evil and the Slave Lords and so on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's it fits in there somewhere. We'll
Hmm.
cover
Yep.
adventures on one
Yep.
of these
And
shows.
that's something you are much better than at the old classic adventures
I
than I
hope so.
am. Yep.
Yeah. Right now, just casually, you know, relaxing into this new format. Um, let's see. What else do we have on maps, or do we want to just answer some of these questions
Well,
right away?
we have a whole bunch of things that we should cover in the future episodes, and I'm so happy when I posted the on Flanny's Geographical Society group. That's one of the groups that on Facebook that now has
If you haven't joined,
1650.
join now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one of the things. We put the links in the. Do they have show descriptions or show notes or something? Well, we put it in the chat.
I don't know.
Yeah, we can. I can do that right away here. So I'll put it in the chat. Here is the link to the Flannies Geographical Society Facebook group, and I started that about I think about 6-7 years ago to get people that wanted to help me create the maps and give me critique and stuff to have somewhere to easily communicate with them, and it's taken off. We're over 1,600 members now, so
People show
yep.
off their own maps and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. So
Yeah.
it's become an awesome community of people that love Greyhawk and
I
centering
don't know
on
how you do
maps
it.
and geography, but anything Greyhawk goes. So
Yeah.
it's been thank you all for all the help. It's I couldn't do this without all the critical feedback I get. That's the key here. And they presented a whole bunch of interesting topic, everything from who struck the first blow in the twin cataclysms to some saying that we should do an episode about all the portals in the city of Greyhawk, and that's something I would like to dig into someday too. The portals of Greyhawk is really interesting, and that kind of that secret little the strip, or what was it? Oh, the little that little odd alley
On
from the
Alley.
Gord books, Gary Gygax, the novels, that the first two that was published by TSR, and then there's another, I think, three books that he published under New Infinities that was after he was ousted by TSR, and they're all
Yeah.
several of them are set in Greyhawk, and there is a whole several chapters about the odd alley in Greyhawk. It's awesome, but that's something we need to. I need to read that again, and we need
Right.
to dig in
I've
and see
used
what we
the
can do
logo in
about
my
portals in the city of Greyhawk down the line.
portals. Right.
Yep. Hmm.
Um, okay, I'm gonna switch back to
Yep.
geography here.
Hmm. Yep.
Nebbiolo has a really good question for you, Anna,
Okay.
concerning mountain chains and why when they run together, they have different names.
Ah,
So
that
hell furnaces, chrysalis. What's the idea behind that?
I think let's switch over to if we go down to hell furnaces. Let me zoom out here
Yeah, we'll
for a
see what
little bit. Yep. I need to
they're
take
talking
it a
about.
little bit slowly. Yeah, the interesting thing, and the hell furnaces is a very interesting example because it is I think, one of the really young mountains in the Flannies, and this is one of these topics. I'm going to go out on the limb here
U.S.
because
Fort
this,
Nebbiolo.
yeah,
Go.
okay, yep. So they're interesting. Like the hell furnaces, I see as one of the youngest ones because I don't think that they were there before the twin cataclysms. This is my own
Hmm.
little private theory here.
Okay,
So
I'm with
so
you.
so
Yeah.
go on a limb here. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a young because I see this the Earth is a fantasy world, so it doesn't have all the normal laws of physics and so on because you have magic and divine influence and all sorts of stuff that can influence not only how the world works but geography itself even. So the twin cataclysms were probably such a big event. So the hell furnaces, it's part of what happened afterwards. So it's a modern thing that has only been around. What is it, 2,000 years or something
Yeah.
like that?
And I'm
Yep.
going to break in real quick for the
Yep.
some of your
Hmm.
viewers. The twin cataclysms is the rain of colorless fire, which created the sea of dust, and the invoked devastation, which created the dry steppes to the north of it.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Continue.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep. So that's one of the things. So we have, and I made it on my maps. I made it kind of. It goes from the very volcanous kind of geologically active hell furnaces down here, and then it turns into what I believe is more of an old mountain chain, the crystal mists that probably been here for
Okay.
way longer. But the Sulhot is something that I wouldn't be surprised if part of it were here, but it's probably grown much bigger
Oh,
after the
it's
twin
buried
cataclysm.
under the sea,
Yeah.
so they're taller than they should be.
Ah, okay. Yep.
Is that what you're saying? Oh, I don't know.
Yep.
Leakham suggests, like, also the Lort Mills is an older range.
Yep. Yeah, and
But
I get the sense. I think the
so
even
you're saying
description of the
it's
Lord Hills are that they are old and worn down, just like the Cairn Hills are something that were bigger and they eroded and and this is one of the things that the old technology. This map is created using 20-year-old technology, so I didn't have that many different. I didn't have real erosion to work with, so I just had to kind of hand wing it a bit, which means that most mountains look too young, or some you look too young. So
yeah.
and some are more. So that is something that I'm going to do a whole. I'm going to start mapping the Flannies all over again next year. So then it will
Wow.
be, yeah, then we will use state of the art technology and not 20-year-old technology. So then we can have erosion that is more fresh, and we can have things that are really eroded and things in between. So there will be bigger variation, but I will try my best to match the current map as much as possible. Just give it more detail, more
Can't wait to see
flavor.
that.
Yep. So that's something we have to dig into in future episodes. When I have new areas to show, we can talk about those areas and show them in detail and go through story, history, and a little bit how they fit into the setting, a little bit by one, so to speak, the different realms. But
Sarah Sinus is talking about the canonicity of
yeah.
the Sea of Dust, and
Hmm.
there isn't a whole lot of canon on the mountains themselves per se, except maybe like the passage of the Sulois that the
Yeah.
Mage's Power created, and
Hmm.
uh, I mean there ain't a whole lot to go on there.
Yeah, and that's one of the Gord books that
In the
Gary wrote
mountains, yeah,
after he left TSR. They contain. There's a whole book that is called Sea of
death,
Sea of Death. That
death,
that
yeah.
is basically set in that area, and some people regard that as canon and part of the setting, and others do not. So that's personal preference. Whether you and I, for me, it's a it's an awesome part
Which,
of the lore of the setting for me. But that's up to, and you will find when we talk about different topics that this is a recurring theme. Some people, they say that only the classical first bit that it was published is part of their perception of what should be in the setting, and others, they include a lot of stuff that is published later
canon,
on. So yep.
yeah, canon fights is never fun though.
Yeah.
Here's a real quick question. Someone asked, where is the passage of
Of Slerutin. Yeah.
Sorutin? Is
Hmm.
that,
That it's that little purple line that comes here. So yep.
right, right.
So it starts here, and I put the entry here and up in the mountains itself. So it doesn't, and then it goes for, well, a couple hundred
And
miles.
it enters what country?
It enters down in the
Mhm.
southern Yeomanry, on the border of Yeomanry, next
Right.
to a town called the Dark Gate. And
Okay.
Dark Gate was something I think that was invented in Living Greyhawk campaign. They put
Sounds
the,
like it.
yeah, so they put the town of Dark Gate there, and that was all the adventurers and went up there to find the passage and go down there and see if there was something to loot and stuff. So someone entrepreneurial started setting up inns and selling equipment to the bit like they did in the gold rush. The ones that got rich were the ones selling the hatchets and the pans and
Hmm.
stuff. So they depicted that in one of the Living Greyhawk adventures. So I put the town of Darkgate there too.
I'm going to drop in real quick. For those who don't know, Living Greyhawk was Wizards of the Coast uh, living campaign. It was a convention thing where like
Yep.
all these different countries managed a different part of the Flanneas and ran all these games, and there was like hundreds, thousands of adventures written,
Yep.
and just the World of Greyhawk was developed heavily,
Hmm.
and it was for, I don't know, a period of 7 years maybe.
Yeah, something like
And
that. Yep.
while it's not technically official stuff, we're talking about canon now. Anna put every bit of it into
Yep.
her maps.
Yeah, I read every one of these modules that were made, and there's both the what was official for the Living Greyhawk campaign, meaning the published modules that they used in play, but they were
Awesome,
also,
Ring Blade.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, and also they every realm in Greyhawk that was either tied to a state or several states, and some of them were foreign countries. So then each of these they had what they call a triad, three people that managed that part of Greyhawk for the Living Greyhawk. They wrote often extra content. They wrote all sorts of PDFs and stuff that they put on, and some of them even had published websites and stuff. So I took that
Yeah,
information
crazy.
and put most of that, as much as I could find, on the map as well. So if you wonder what a lot of the content comes from here, and you read all the published books and they're not there, it's Living Greyhawk content usually. And then there are other content that is fan made, like Mike he made awesome articles and wrote about Owl, for instance. So I used that
It's
material and
all
put in
got
there.
overlooked.
Yes, so there's some of that content too. So yeah, so that was part
Yeah,
of
we
it.
got some Living Greyhawk players in here. Luna, Bandit Kingdoms, of course.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, very
yep,
cool, very cool.
yep.
That's you, Ernst.
Thank you so much for
Glad to
all
see
the
you
stuff
guys.
that you wrote and played and put on there. So,
Mavix, you, Henry? Wow,
hmm
very cool.
yep. So that was a little bit look at the passage of Slerutin, and that's one of my, now I have to go in with a little anecdote here, or a future thing, is that's one of my dream locations to map. And one of the things is that I'm figuring out how to do Underdark maps, to map
Hmm.
the Underdark properly, because this needs to be done in 3D because you have elevation and stuff, and it's also large scale. So that's one of the things. When I've done the mountains, so I have the elevation model of the terrain above, I'm going to see how I can make it kind of semi-transparent and make cutouts, and then present the whole tunnel complex and probably all the other cool stuff that might be there. That's one of these mapping challenges that I want to be able to do, and in probably in 4 or 5 years I will be ready to tackle it.
Yeah. So Ranglade brings up a good thing. Ivid the Undying, unpublished
Oh
module, huge
yes,
module.
yes, that
Factors
was,
heavily into a lot
yeah.
of our
hmm
maps that
Yeah,
we like.
yeah. It was published in probably about '96 or something like that. They published it online because, yeah, they didn't print it. They published it online, and it was available as PDF first, as some just text format, and then PDF. And someone made a front cover, took some image
Yeah.
and made a front cover and made it into a PDF, formatted just to look like the other Marklands and I Use the Evil and stuff. And that PDF had been floating around in places here and there, and I don't know the legality of sharing that version, but I think, well, it
Hmm.
was available for
I
free
don't know. It's
back
been
in the
out so
day.
long.
Yes, yeah. So it can probably
I
be
wish they
found.
had. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish they had led with that
Yes, because that's
source
one
book.
of the best modules ever written
Yeah.
for Greyhawk, period. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
The
It's,
Marklands
yeah, Marklands,
is
Slavers, I
flimsy.
Use the Evil, and even the Undying are my favorite. Those are the modules that talk about the setting. They are my favorite by
Yeah.
far. Yep.
And great maps.
Yes, great maps too. Yep. Okay, do we have some more interesting questions and stuff here?
Uh, well, you were talking about Underdark earlier, and I
hmm
know
Yep.
I'm trying to think on
Yes.
melcot.com, Melkot.
Yes.
Dennis Tetro has or Tetrol
Yep.
has
And
some really good Underdark maps.
yes, and
Uh,
he's the one that have explored it and kind of dug deep. He categorized or cataloged it and mapped it better than anybody else. And this here is part of that's his contribution, public canon contribution to the Greyhawk setting, Castle Melcodia Castle and the city of Melcot. And you
right.
can see up here in the there is a little, you can see that red little square hip up on the top right. There is an overview map, and you can see it's tiny little red square. That's the part of Greyhawk that you can see in the main window here. So yeah, this is an overlay. I'm using Illustrator to just pan around and zoom around here. So just put a fancy
The laser
overlay.
pointer.
Yep.
Nebiola's asking about your map.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a filter on it that will bring it back to the 576 common year
No, I don't have that
stuff?
yet, and I often get asked that a lot. And one of the main reason is that there are two schools. So I've asked around saying that should I do a 576 version of the map, and everybody says yes. And then my
Yeah.
next follow-up question is that okay, so all the things that were invented later, like in From the
Uh,
Ashes and in Living Greyhawk and stuff, should they be on the map? Meaning, if a city is invented
yes.
later, should it, because you can assume that it existed earlier. And that's when I run into trouble, because some people say, no, if it's not mentioned in the earlier books, then it shouldn't be on the map. And some others say that of course it should be. That city should
Yeah,
have existed there for hundreds of
it should.
years, so it should have been there. So that was my main caveat or main
You
problem I ran
should
into. So
include that.
yeah, but I
What
will.
you should it's the timelines
Yes, yeah,
information that should
yeah.
change.
So I will.
The borders and
Mm-hmm.
names of
Yep. So
countries.
that's what I
Yeah.
will do. Once I start switching, and that's another one that I will talk about a whole episode down the line. But the quick 30-second version of this is that I will switch, when I start mapping all over again, I will switch to using modern tool that is geographical information system, which means that I only need to enter the information once, and then I can reuse it. And then I can give information a timestamp. So I can, if, for instance,
Ah,
if I put in ancient borders and I said that this border, and I can say that this border existed from common year so and so to common year so and so, and that means that I can actually take a database and say I want all the data from a certain period to be shown on the map, and that way I can make much easier make historic maps and so on. So that's
mhm.
when yeah, looking forward to that. So then we can make 562, and one of the other maps I really want to do, I want to make maps over where Vecna ruled, for instance, what cities and stuff
Oh,
were around.
ancient names.
Yes,
I've toyed
exactly.
with that myself.
Historical maps that goes back
Mhm.
to the reign of Vecna
Or
and
Psalm.
exactly. And we have the
Yeah,
old
yeah.
elven empires and elven lands that were there before the
War
yeah.
Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Pure
Yep,
Forest. Yeah,
yep. So
yeah.
there is a whole bunch of stuff, and they're both political, meaning who ruled where, but also there were the forests were bigger. Like the Adri was much bigger hundreds of years ago, according to the writings that I read, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff. What did it look like? The old Seoul empires. What were they? And you had the now forgotten Seoul cities that adventurers go
Mhm.
and dig up old treasures and old demons and all sorts of crap coming from. So there is a whole bunch of stuff to dig into. So that's something that I would do when I have the technology that I don't have to reuse. I can reuse information rather than to have it start from scratch all the time.
Well, Winged Horizon there has a good question.
Hmm.
He's a Return to Greyhawk player, so he'll
Yes,
like
yeah, it's
this. He
Josh.
wanted to know
Hi.
what part, I guess, what part of the map's most memorable for us. Uh, that's a really tough one.
Yeah, you start, Mike. You have
Well, I
some
was going to say
wonderful.
I'm going to throw out the city of Greyhawk would be too easy to say, but
Hmm.
so I'm going to say the land of Ayus, which he should be
Okay.
familiar with.
Hmm.
Uh, I stomped around the land of Ayus a lot in my early campaigns, battling that old demigod.
Yep.
That's why I kind of don't play there so much these days. But uh, it's for someone who grew up with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Hmm.
Ayus is
Yep.
Mordor.
Yep.
And
Let's zoom
so
in
that was always
and
a fun
yeah.
place to
Yep.
run.
Here we have the. Let's zoom out one more so we can have the. Yeah, this is where he rules, and I made a lot of the. I hope you can see my mouse pointer here. I'm not sure, but I hope you can see the mouse pointer. So this area north of the Still Lake is where IU started his, and then he expanded east and south and north and everywhere. So yep.
A blighted area.
Yep, and I agree with you. We fought for years when we fought through the wars of Greyhawk and Greyhawk wars and stuff. We fought in the lands of Furiundi and Shield lands, and those were awesome times. So I also, just like you, I also got
Mhm.
tired of him for a while. But my next
Yeah.
campaign, I'm going to go back to that and They will be set in Shield lands, and it will be IUs, and it will be they will be good knights, evil demons, and shebang. So that's that. So I'm
Oh,
going back to it again.
and
Okay, so, yeah, my
Sarah
yeah.
Senna says I should like oh yeah, I write about all a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I can probably count on my hands how many times I've actually ran game sessions in all. So I don't
Ah,
have a whole lot of gaming memories in
yeah,
all. It's
yeah.
all up here
Uh-huh.
because I wrote about it, but I didn't actually play it.
Yep. So my favorite area in gaming that is related to my map is another place. And now I'm going to switch maps. Now I'm going to switch to my personal campaign map.
All right.
It
Oh,
looks
this
the
should be
same
fun.
in the basics, but there is way more stuff on this one. And my favorite area is this that adventure is the what used to be the heartlands of the Great Kingdom, and then after the fall of the Nalex regime and the Great Kingdom fell into disarray,
South
and
Province.
yeah, and you had the used to be South Province, and now it's the United Kingdom of Alyssa, and that used to be the southern part of the core realm of the Great Kingdom, and you have what used to be the Thelwood that is now Bonewood, and one of my favorites hang out in the world of Greyhawk, the city of Rel Devon, one of these old metropolises of the Great Kingdom that is now still a big city and a metropolis, but no, it's more like a local backwater these days. And you have the startup that is Karlstrand that over King Sevener is now building up and starting
A
to build the
lot of
empire.
political intrigue.
Exactly, it's a lot of political intrigue and a lot of gray areas and the knights of old Great Kingdom and those things are still there. The nobility, the noble houses and stuff. There's some horrible things with death knights and various horrors that was introduced by the Nalex regime and his devilry and stuff and some good guys trying to uphold the good here and there and for me
How
that
long
was
was this campaign? I
I,
mean,
I ran it about 5 years. I ran it when I moved here 8 years ago and ran it, and we ended it about 2, 3 years. So 5, 6 years all in all, with the whole
well,
lots of different players over the years. But yep. So that was one of
they're
my highlights. Yep.
they're in chat. They're discussing pronunciations. That
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have to get us a list of
Yeah.
Greyhawk
Yeah.
locations and
And since
just
English is not my native
attempt to
language,
pronounce
meaning
it.
I'm even more at a disadvantage here.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
goodness! Yeah, and the Lake of Unknown Deaths. I say near div.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know,
Yeah.
it's probably
hmm
near dive. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I say nerd div. Yeah. Okay.
Funny stuff. Um, let's see what other questions were outstanding there. I think someone asked earlier about Torney's favorite sandwich. Well, obviously it's a salamander sandwich.
Oh yes. Yep. hmm With lots of spicing
Um,
on it, so it's really
yeah.
yeah. hmm
Uh, just, let's see. Um, what areas? Yeah, my camera's.
Oh yeah, you're bouncing around a little bit here. So yep. You're having an
Okay.
earthquake. You see, I live in an earthquake area, so I would be more. You should see me bouncing
Yes,
around
you
more
have
than you.
everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have forest fires and
Yeah.
earthquakes, but apart from that, we're fairly
Tornadoes is the worst thing I can
okay.
worry
Yeah,
about.
but they're more usually a bigger hazard. And we almost burned
Mm.
down here a month ago, but we managed. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Hold of the Sea Princes is my current favorite area on the map. I've done a lot of development on it myself,
It's
and posted a lot about it on the blog,
hmm
Grayhawkery.
You seem to run a wonderful campaign that I heard a lot of cool things about some
It's
years ago.
it's like my own little living campaign where
hmm
I have the different game groups of my friends. We get together and I just set it all in the same area,
Yeah.
and so it's all like one little localized shared world.
hmm
Um, and I do that just so I'm not really wasting material. You know, I can use the same map, same NPCs. Uh,
That's smart. That's really smart.
you know, but I've kind of built it on the back of a lot of Living Greyhawk
Hmm.
stuff also,
Yeah.
and other fan made maps. So I can't take all the credit.
I have one question that Nebbiolo asked. Why is the Rift Canyon black?
Yeah,
And
why is there Canyon
yes,
Black?
and this is one of the kind of artistic and kind of fantasy freedoms I took myself, because when you read the description of the Rift Canyon, there is even an image in one of the books saying that it's like, what is it, 10 miles wide and 2 mile deep or something like that. And to me, it's like Temescal Valley, where I live, is bigger in every direction, and it's not that impressive. So,
Ah,
and this is a fantasy world, so I took an artistic license and interpret. Let's go over to the Rift Canyon here a bit. So I'll zoom in here. So we have the Rift Canyon, and I hope you can see that little red square up there, so we can see where in the world we are. So Rift Canyon. So I took an artistic license and made this different, because the to me the Rift Canyon is, what is it? Hang on a second. We can put hexes here and we can say that it's probably about, yeah, so it's probably about 250 miles long or something like that.
all
And
right.
and it's probably 40 miles wide, because I used the same dimensions horizontally as is on the original map. And it's if something is 240 miles long and only a mile or two deep, it's not even a valley. It's like a plain. So that's not impressive at all. So I realized we need some different dimension here. And if something is
Okay.
200 miles long and 40 miles wide, it needs to be many miles deep. And also in my version view of Earth, it doesn't have the same type of geology. So in my camp version of Greyhawk, the Rift Canyon is deep. No one knows how deep it is. It's like miles. You can probably go 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 miles down.
Well,
Maybe.
that's ludicrous.
No, I kind of like that idea, because, and down there you might go into other dimensions, the plane of shadow, the nether
Uh,
planes, all sorts of cool
mhm.
things, and the
Okay.
plane of earth, and so on. So it's kind of a fantastic place, meaning it's not
Hmm.
literally that deep in the real world, but you
It's
might
a
simply
rift, a
stumble down into the plane of
mystical
shadow,
rift.
and yeah, and you
Okay.
might end up in the parts of the abyss, and no one
Yeah,
knows. And that's why
I'm really
it's
digging this
cloak.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's
Warm.
why I made it black, so it would stand out, both to look cool, but
Ah,
also to kind of
yeah.
cloak it into, because it's kind of a huge opening into other worlds, so to speak.
I like it.
Yep. So that's my idea, and that's why I made it black, so to make it stand
Uh,
out.
yeah, let's see, someone's asking about Verilos. Verilos is on the north side
Let's see
of
here.
the Rift Canyon.
That one is, oh, someone might have found something that I have forgot to put on the map. This is perfect. Thank you.
That's an ancient location.
Okay. This is, oh, it's awesome. Oh, there we are. Veralos. Here. Yep.
Verilos.
There it is. Veralos.
Thanks, Leakum.
Yep. So we zoom in. I put it
No, no
here.
rafting down the Rift Canyon.
Yep. So I put it here as one of
I
the
think in the
old.
Age of Worms, though,
Yeah.
there is a bottom to the Rift Canyon.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I know
And
there is a
I think
bottom.
the Wormcrawl Fissure is maybe a branch of the Rift Canyon, or is
Yeah, the
that the bottom of it?
clawfisher is. Hang on a second. I think I put it in. No, that's Dragon Rift. The clawfisher. Hang on a second. Worm clawfisher. It's. I put it on the left edges here where it starts, so to speak. It goes down,
Mhm.
and this one clearly has a bottom. It's not. It's when you get. And then we have one of the things that I'm very hesitant to put on there is Kongen Thulnir. It's one of these living Greyhawk inventions.
That's Age of Worms.
Oh, it's Age
That's a
of Worms.
giant Kongan
See?
Thul. I
Yeah.
can't remember the pronunciation. I think
Yeah.
that's a giant city.
Okay, Kongen Thulnir. Yeah, it sounds to me
Thul-
it sounds very Nordic. That's why I have it easy pronounce
Oh,
it. Yeah,
like a
very
out of
Nordic. Kongen means simply the king in kind of bad Swedish, so to speak. And
mhm.
Thulnir sounds to me very Nordic. I don't understand what it is really. It's more like a made-up word, but it sounds
It's
very
in the
Scandinavian.
adventure. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a city of giants built
Okay.
onto the side of
Oh,
the cliff.
okay. if it's a city of
Yeah.
giants, I need to change the
Yeah.
symbol. So perfect. We got,
Oh,
yep, we got a map.
all
I
right. Good
need
job,
to note
team.
this. Yep. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
map notes here. Thank you so much. I need
Four,
to
three.
just note that. Change
And
the.
that's one of them things. It's like, you would never even heard of hardly any of these cool locations that were developed in Age of Worms if you didn't collect Dungeon Magazine. And that really came towards the end of the Paizo run for doing Greyhawk stuff. They made a lot of cool Greyhawk adventures and whatnot that developed parts of uh, the world and even some off map that we'll probably never see the light of day unless someone relaunches Greyhawk again or Anna puts it on her map.
Yeah, I try to dig out as much as possible from, and I also take things that are hinted at in that is not really placed as a place. One of them is an example. Let's see if I can zoom out here. When I did my research for my Lissa campaign, one of the Death Knights, he came from a castle that was mentioned somewhere, and then I had to put that castle there. I think it was the Spiral or somewhere. I put it here somewhere. Yeah, so his home, he came from the castle of Spiral, and it was not put on the
Oh,
map somewhere. So I simply put it somewhere. I think it was Spiral, but I think so. I might be wrong, but it was one of these places, and I just put it there to so some of these places are, I placed them there, but I didn't invent them because they are hinted at or
right.
they are described in the text somewhere, but they are not placed on the map. And some of them, another one that is way up in the northwest is the Merlin's castle. Merlin's
Ooh,
castle is described as being up here somewhere, and so I thought a cool
okay.
location along the coast, and so that's where I put it. So a lot of places I can't say for sure that it should be supposed to be exactly there. That's my kind of artistic license to
Educated.
put it there. Educated guess, yep. But so some of these places, they should be there, or they're hinted at, or there's mentioned someone as a title, he's from so and so place, and then I put that place from in that area. So yeah,
Let's see. Bavix is asking when Greyhawk's going to be free for all on DM's Guild for
that's
publication.
yeah.
And the answer to that is sixth edition.
Oh, you think it would take that long? I first of all, I have to state for the record, I don't know. No one have told
No
me,
one
and
knows.
I don't know. I have no inside information to what Wizards of
And
the
if
Coast are doing in
they
this at all.
do,
So
they probably
that
don't.
means that I can't speculate. So my guess, I will guess like 2 years from now or something like that.
Yeah.
If they launch a
Well,
setting
you
every
gotta
two
hope that
years,
Wizards of the Coast runs out of ideas.
well, yeah, but they have a whole bunch of other settings. But I think, and I think it will be, they will release a book or something that describes the special rules and some races and some adventures and stuff, and that will be it. I don't think it will
Oh
be a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
huge
No,
setting again. So it will
no.
be, yeah. But
But to let it be a free for all on
mhm,
DM's Guild
yep,
is the key.
yep,
When will they let all us
yep,
fans and creators
yep.
publish our stuff?
Mhm.
And that answer is long time from now.
Yeah, but it might, if they launch a book, if they want it to done and there is a business interest for Wizard of the Coast to do this, meaning if we create a lot of stuff and sell it, they earn money on it. So there is a business incentive
Yeah.
for them to do it within, but not
Yep.
too soon. So they need to, they Greyhawk will not be the first one. If Eberron, that I've heard a lot of rumors, will come like next year or something. So if Eberron does well, then they might wait another 2 years or so and then launch
Mhm.
Greyhawk using the same kind of setup if it works well with Eberron. So they might launch. Yeah,
Everything. Yeah. I
yeah,
love Eberron, don't get me wrong, but everything there is about Eberron ever made would probably fit into the Living Ground Gazetteer.
that's
It's
true. Yeah.
hardly a comparison.
Yep, yep. So
Yeah.
so it will be, but it will be fun, and then that will open up a new venue because I will put new maps and new versions on DM's Guild for sale and
Might
for giveaway, definitely. Yep.
Ooh, microtransactions. That would be evil.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
I know, but I can put them there for
here's
free.
Ferrandi.
Yeah.
Here's Nyron.
Mm-hmm.
Cha-ching, cha-ching,
Yeah,
cha-ching. Yeah.
exactly. Yep, we'll see. Yep.
Hmm.
But remember, they're on my website. This map is available for free, and I'll put a link
Yes.
to
Free.
this version of the map is not available yet. What will be? The older versions are available now, and this one will be available around Christmas by the end of the year. In December, it
Ah,
will
happy
come.
Christmas.
Yep. But if you become my patron, then you can get it today.
Ah,
Yep. That's one of the benefits
per
of joining my patron is that you get to see and critique this long before it hits the general
had
public,
stuff
so to
she
speak.
forgets.
Yep. Oh, thank you so much, Bevik. That's wonderful. Thank you. I couldn't do this without all the wonderful fan support I get. It's fantastic. So, yep. And not only because it gives me the chance to sit and do this, but it also gives me, it's my quality control. Without the people actually telling me what's wrong, what should be there, etc., I wouldn't be able to do half as good of a job that I'm doing if I didn't have so many good sharp eyes that can give constructive criticism. That is really so. Thank you so much for that too.
Zudrak brings up a very good point.
Hmm.
Joe Block on Greyhawk Grognard, look up his blog. He has been doing this a lot longer than either of us.
Yes.
Go to his blog.
Yes.
He has a lot of good maps as well,
Yes. Yeah. He's doing a
and
whole.
he does good.
Yeah. Can you find the
He
link for?
studies modules.
Yeah. Can you find the link and post it in there somewhere? If
I mean,
let's hang on a
it's
second.
he changed his
Hang on a
changed
second.
over WordPress
He has a
recently.
patron, so now I'm going to plug his
Okay,
patron.
there you
Yep.
go.
Yeah. I'm going to plug his patron, Grayhawk Grognard, and I can. So I'm going to post to Joe Block, and so I'm going to here is Joe Block, and I'm a patron of his patron.
Joe Block did a article in Dragon Magazine a long time ago. Help me out, Leakum. And he was about the Pomage. It was called "See the Pomage and Die," and that
Yes.
article pretty much inspired me to start writing for Greyhawk and doing blogs and all
Yep.
that.
And here I found the link. Here is the link to Joe Block's awesome blog on the interwebs, so you can find and look back because he has some awesome articles. Yep, definitely.
Yep.
Yep.
He mapped the entire
The entire
or
planet.
beyond the Flanius,
Yes,
and
and
yeah,
yeah, the whole planet, and that is one thing I must now take the chance to publicly thank Joe for, because that's something I'm about to do now too. So I will take huge note of Joe's maps and use them as part of the basis for my effort, because they are simply the best maps of the planet that are done so far.
they're
And
hex
yeah.
maps
They are
done in the
Darlene
style of
style.
Darlene.
Exactly, they're
Right.
Darlene style maps, and they look great. So and there's a whole bunch of details. And if we can, I guess I'll elaborate 2 or 3 minutes, because I think we have some little bit time over on the effort to
Yep.
map Earth, because that's one of the big things that I will start digging into. I've started already, and I will dig into. So my patrons will start seeing that in a couple of months. The efforts of this. And my goal with that is that I've decided to not put any maps or any names and countries or anything outside the Flannies, but I will try and map the terrain and do it really cool. Meaning it will be an open sandbox that people can put whatever countries they want in there, and that you can call it whatever you want. Because I know there's been a lot of discussions and loves and hates and whatnot over the that little tidbits
Yeah.
of some people love the Nippon and Zindia and what were they here, and some people don't like it.
Placeholders.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and stay out of that debate and
And
simply
just stick
say
to geography.
exactly. I will present the geography, and then people put whatever countries you want there, and whatever. And it's a huge
Some of the
effort, so
empire.
it will be done in stages over the coming decade, so to speak, because it's an enormous. Realize that the continent of
Okay, so
Uraric
big.
that Flanese is the part of, it's bigger than the Pacific. It's enormous. It's
Obnoxiously big, in my
yeah,
opinion.
exactly. It's so big that the maps that have been presented before of the countries and so on, it's ridiculous. It's countries that are kingdoms that are bigger than North America. So they don't make sense in my humble opinion or view of it. So that's why I want to present cool terrain that is a sandbox for people to simply put whatever cool things you want for your campaign in there. That's how I will try and tackle it to stay out of the fray. Okay.
Very cool.
Yep.
Let's see. Any other crazy questions you want to throw at us?
Yeah, I'm going to, while waiting, I'm going to simply plug my own Patreon and just put a link in there if you want to consider joining. So, yep, supporting me on Patreon. So that was my plug on this. So how are we doing for time? It's almost six
Yeah,
o'clock
we're
here.
at the almost the 1 hour
1 hour. So yeah, so we have
point.
plenty
We
of time
can
left. So
run
yep, and I'm
however
going.
long.
Yeah, while you're talking a bit, I'm going to zoom out the map a bit. So we looked at
Sure.
Merlin's castle and one of the most boring parts of Greyhawk here for some
Grayhawk is
time.
Chicago.
We can move down here to more kind of central areas. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
when last 2 years I've gone to GaryCon up in Wisconsin, and going up there, it really feels like you're traveling through like Gary's old campaign because of the names of places around there, like Walworth County, I think it is,
Oh,
which is
okay.
that.
Ah,
Yeah, which the
wow, I
island
didn't know
north
that.
of
And
Niagara.
yeah,
Yeah,
Walworth
it's
Island is one of
crazy, crazy.
yeah, my favorite little spots. Not because it's special, it's actually because it's very unassuming. I needed a test area, so I this probably the this little area island in the middle of the Lake near Div. I've mapped this one probably 8 times already because every time I needed a test area in Greyhawk, I mapped the Walworth Isle over and over again
Yeah.
using different tools
Wow.
to
Wow.
just see if it works or not. So so now when I actually said that now when I'm going to start over again, I need a new test area. So and then I put all people at the Flanders Geographical Society got a poll and they could vote, and the winner was Lendor Isle, and that's
Ah,
yeah. So that became the winner. So next time it will be Lendor Isle. But
that's your
while you're talking,
restart.
I'll see if I can bring up some
Let's see. Rhinglade said Gary signed his DM guide. I saw Gary Gygax like at Gen Con a year before he died, and I chickened out. You know, I could have went up to him and signed probably my Dungeon Master guide, but I chickened out, and then he died the next year.
uh-oh.
It's
Yep.
terrible.
Yep. I never got a chance to meet him either. I lived in Sweden when he died, and I never got a chance. I was so many years, I was this close to going to Gen Con and stuff back in the day, but it was always something with work or
Mm.
money or whatever, or time that kind of kept me away. So it was
But
only
I've met
when
Dave
I
Arness
moved.
and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
a lot of
You
other
live next
guys.
door.
Huh?
You live next door. You're close to. You should have gone every day, every year of your life. Oh, I know how that is. You don't. Yeah.
No,
So I moved when I moved to California. Then I've been to the last 5 Gen Cons now, I think. Yep.
right.
And but Gary Con was the first time this year. That was the first Gary Con I've been to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, what other questions we got on here? Yeah, meeting some of the old D&D authors is definitely the best part of going to
Mm-hmm.
GaryCon.
Yep.
And I will be at GaryCon this year. It's in March. I don't know if Anna is
I I'm still on the fence, so to speak.
still on the
That was
fence.
I was for a little while I was sure, but now
Mm,
there so it's still open. I hope that I can make it
yeah.
and make all the arrangement and to get there, but we'll see. But my one of my best takeaways from was that I got to meet Larry Elmore and Jeff Easley,
Mm.
and that was fantastic to sit down and babble. But Jeff Easley and Larry Elmore, sorry, I've had a chance because I worked the past 4 Gen Cons. I worked at the booth that has been across from Larry Elmore, so I've been had
Right.
a chance to chat with him for back and forth during several days, and that's been a real privilege. It's been fantastic.
uh, Boy, I almost forgot what I was going to say there. Oh yeah, if anyone in the Grayhawk channel or Cannon Fire or any of our Greyhawk communities, on Facebook, if any of you guys are going to GaryCon or Gen Con, any of the local Midwest cons, hit us up,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
ask us in chat and text or whatever, and we'll try
Yeah.
to meet you.
Definitely.
Some
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Greyhawk.
Yep.
Looks like we got one Gary Con attendee I see.
Oh, okay.
Action rocks you.
Yeah, and
Yep.
we have Altair Wolf Gen Con. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't been to Gen Con for a few years, but I do see that the Greyhawk presence is starting to ramp up now that
Yeah.
Twitch
Mm-hmm.
is
Yep.
catching on.
Yeah, and I think the Greyhawk channel and Shane has
Yeah,
done good to ramp it up. So next year we probably have to do some cool, more kind of bigger Greyhawk get together again. Mm-hmm.
there is talk about a Greyhawk get together at Gary Con, like an actual event. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something official like.
Yeah.
Uh, oh man, JB Garrison's really jumping in there with a good detailed question about heraldry. Mm,
Ooh, that okay. Mm-hmm.
mm, that's a good one. I don't. That sounds like an Anna question to me. I
Let's
don't
see here.
heraldry.
See if I can heraldry. Let's see. Oh, I can't see
They're
the.
saying it. He's asking the heraldry for the Little Greyhawk is national. It's
Mm-hmm.
not individual. I mean, in some cases there are individual flags on there, like Sir Rolar,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Tender,
and there are
but for the
much
most part,
more that I haven't put there because the most of the heraldry that was developed for the Flannies or for the Greyhawk campaign is the heraldry that was put in the original books. First, the one that was the very first Greyhawk supplement that was probably from 78, 79 or something like that. And then the first Greyhawk box that came out in 1983. They had the heraldry on the inside of the covers. That was so
yeah.
that's where most of the heraldry come from, and that was the realm the heraldry for the different countries of Greyhawk, plus the couple of the knightly orders. That was the knights of the holy shielding and the knights of, yeah, a few other knights. But there are a whole bunch of other heraldry that is hinted at or implied that it should be, and
Hmm.
I've developed some of them and found some of them that put on my map, but I have a whole bunch of others that I'm working on that I will for there will be probably about 10 or so new heraldry for this year's
Nice.
map that comes out in December. I found a whole bunch of for like merchant houses of Sasserine is one big one. There is like a whole bunch of them, and there's a couple of other ones. And there is a heraldry for the different noble houses of Arerdi back in from in the day. That heraldry is something that I'm working on, and there is let's see if I go over to my campaign map, you can see I developed a whole bunch of heraldry for my Alyssa campaign. Let's see if I switch over to the map view here again. So I developed for all the different principalities and stuff. I developed the different heraldry, and this is kind of what I would say semi-canon because they are hinted at and some of them are described, but they are not actually made. So for instance, here you have the principality of Rel Devon. I used the black shield of the old Grey Kingdom and the old sun and the crown on the sun from old Grey Kingdom because it's one of the
She's good at her
original
hill.
principalities that is run by one of the original noble families that actually carried the throne back in the day. So that's why I used the royal colors, the royal sun, and the crown on it. So and then I created others like the county of Rasfern. I used the feather. That's a hint because the feather is used for a lot of the it's the where Bigby came from. So I used
Oh,
some of the it's a spell component And the
Mhm.
colors here are the different noble houses. So you have the House of Crandon is black, and then you have and there are several others. You have the House of
So
Rax
there's
is
a
red.
consistency to
Yes,
them.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a whole
Kind
bunch
of.
of them. So there are different houses, and then you have here you have Old Almore, and those family is blue, and so they are the ones that are have ties to Old Almore are blue, and then there are new different ones. So here is the new shield for the marshland of Shathold. It's part of the Old Almore shield that is now protected and ruled over by the Principality of Reldevin. That is the so this is how I try to
Them.
create new heraldry that kind of made sense and were kind of appropriate
Yeah, I
for the
love that.
setting. So yeah, so it's a lot
As
of
much
work.
as I know about Greyhawk, I like devote almost zero of my brain space to thinking about
Yeah,
heraldry.
for
And so
me
that
it was
amazes me.
yeah for me it was a visual part of the map, and I love to have the
Mhm.
heraldry onto the map. That's why I had to go in and describe all sorts of things. So here is another one that I did for my campaign that is even less canon than the other one. Here we have the United Kingdom of Alyssa. This one is presented in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. So this one is canon. But then you have the Knights of Doom, that is the I would say the special forces, or the top elite force of the United Kingdom of Alyssa, and they are said to have the ties. They want to portray themselves as the inheritors of the Death Knight tradition, so to speak, in more modern terms. They are seen as the most vicious knights around. So I simply created I took the Death Knight symbol, like the skull, and these are the low ones. They just you see a little bit of it, and it's the house of I forgot. Damn, I should have
Garmin?
yeah, exactly. No, it's the the noble house that's King Savener is part of. We have to come back to that.
Garristet?
No, it's
I'm
the
just singing now.
yeah,
Nalax.
yeah. But anyway, it's so when you go up in rank, so these are the highest knights. They want to be the scariest, so they just use the skull and the star of Aerdi in it, so to speak. So these are the some of the shields that I developed for and then there are others here as
It's like
well.
you're getting a preview.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a preview on my map too. So, and this is the
Yeah.
preview of, and this campaign map, by the way, it's another thing that my patrons get access to. They get my personal campaign stuff as well. So now I can plug it. And here's another one. Duke Sephrin was one in the war
Yeah.
when the he was one of the Animus, or like a Death Knight. He
Animus.
was kind of these. He became undead, and he was one
Undead.
of the king. Over King Naelex, one of his commanders, and when the war in Almor and stuff fought, so he was one of the commanders of Naelex, and he was really badass, and he was running around. So I created his shield. So he used the blue of Almor because he took command of Almor and he controlled it. So he put that on his shield, and he
Makes
didn't
sense.
use the normal shield, the red Sun of Aerdi. So he used the black Sun of Aerdi, and so that was that I created his shield. So I keep inventing heraldry for just like you did
Crazy.
in
It's
medieval
great.
Europe. So yep.
Yeah, it puts me to shame.
No, you have developed so many other things. I'm kind of a
You
visual
know,
person. I dig into the map and the visual
yeah.
bits. Yeah.
All I've written is all. All has one
Oh, you've written so many other things
symbol.
too. So yeah.
There's a lot of tribes, but I haven't really gone into,
Yeah.
what all the different tribes symbols might be. I don't
That's
even know if
something
they have
you
them.
need to, yeah, if they have them, they're, yeah, if they can
I think they
read.
have colors.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it'd be more of a color thing, like
Yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
like gang colors and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah. It's a bit like the noble houses of Aerdi. I take them as they have the different colors too.
Yeah.
So yeah, the red for the House of Rax, and blue and green, and so on and so forth. That we need to have a special episode when we talk about Aerdi and the noble houses and all that. So,
Ooh, well,
so
let me do some homework
yeah,
first.
exactly. I was
That's
just
a
going to say I need to
deep.
do
That's like
homework
Game of
too.
Thrones level
Yes. Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is something I gamed about 3 years ago, and then I forgot about the whole thing. So yeah.
No.
So there's, and here is some of the old one. Here's the old Great Kingdom. You have
Cards.
the blue color of this is the old Great Kingdom, and then the old Knight Protectors. That there you have the black again, and the hammer and the arrow, and
Night
Kargoth.
Protectors.
Yeah, Kargoth is
Uh,
one of the top evil badasses that kind of, yeah, ended up there. So yeah, and this.
let's see.
Mhm,
I was just going to jump in there real
mhm,
quick.
yep.
The Dying Kingdom on Greyhawk Channel deals with, I think, this area.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. Yep, they have the Night
Protector,
Protectors and the fall of the
Central,
Great Kingdom. Yep,
Great Kingdom.
yep.
Hmm.
And here's another little, if we can, 2 minutes more of digging deep into heraldry.
Sure.
This is a one that I created that is kind of special cool. This is my map showing this is the area after the Living Greyhawk Wars. After the wars, after the Living Greyhawk campaign, and so Rossi's is now just disappeared in the maelstrom of magic and evil and all sorts of
As
stuff.
often happens in the world of Greyhawk.
Yes, exactly. That seems to be a calamity that happens to different areas.
All the
Yeah,
time.
and so the southern part south of Rossi's is now under the administration of King Savener and the United Kingdom of Alyssa. And these kind of borderlands are called marshlands. They are not baronies or something. They're centrally administered by a commander of some sort. And since Marshland of Rossi's, then I needed to create a shield for that area. So I took this symbol here, the white dragon here. It's actually used to be red, and it used to be that was on the cover, the intended cover of the Evid the Undying.
Oh.
There is a picture of Evid Undying holding his banner, and that dragon is on that banner.
Oh.
And so what I did was that they took the dragon and turned it white and put it black, meaning now it's now done in history, and it's now run by the United Kingdom of Alyssa. They now rule over the old Rossi's country. So that's part of the shield. So that's a little bit about the process that I've created my heraldry.
I feel you have an advantage on coming up with this stuff because of where you grew up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Europe is full of heraldry stuff. And
Yeah.
that's the other anecdote that I now need to plug. A lot of the people that know way more about medieval and real heraldry than I do, they always criticize him, saying that the shield, the shape of the shield is wrong,
Hmm.
because you're supposed to have proper heraldic shields that are rounded at the bottom, not pointy. And
All right.
my answer is that no, in Greyhawk, if you look at the canon sources, this is how you depict Flanese heraldry. They use the pointy because that's what used in the official sources. So that's
Huh.
why I picked the pointy shield
Yeah.
instead of the rounded
I
at the
never
bottom.
noticed that.
Yeah, it's I simply followed Flanese tradition.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. What do they call those? Heater shields or kite shields? I don't know what
yeah,
kind of shields
I
you call
think so.
those.
Yeah, and I also think these shields look so cool. But when I watched the movie from the late '70s, I
Yeah,
think it
thank
was
you.
of Ivanhoe, they used shields with that shape, and I thought they looked so cool.
Hmm.
So that's why I actually picked this shape. That was another reason of picking this shape. So Gygax, he liked it apparently, so they made it into the setting books, and so I just follow suit. So, but not all the shields are that way. If I go down
No.
to nope, these are the Flanese standard, but if I go down to this
Oh.
will be an heraldic episode. It wasn't really intended, but let's dig deep here. If you go down
Okay.
here, if I take these various people that
Oh,
live
never mind.
down in Hipmona land, I made round shields for them because they are not
Oh.
part of the Oridian Suluas. These are savages down from Hipmona land, so they don't have. So these are round
Hmm.
shields. And these are canon because these are from the slavers. I think it was or the
Yes.
about
No, 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 no. The Scarlet Brotherhood.
exactly, that was, yeah, the one of the
Yeah.
best source books that is describes a
Yeah.
lot of the Hepmola
Star
land, the whole
Camerons.
Scarlet Brotherhood empire.
Hmm.
And they were only black and white, so I colored them and to what I
Looks
saw
good.
was cool. So yep, and added them. So they were round, and I thought that was
Spears and
very appropriate.
elephants.
Yep.
Yeah.
So not all heraldry follow the Flanny standard, but the ones that are connected to the central lands and stuff of the Flannies. But enough about heraldry. Yep.
Enough
Do we have
about
any
her.
more interesting questions here?
Uh, Welcome, Guntaka. You got here late, of course, but yes, you can rewatch these later. I believe
Yes,
the videos are
both on
saved
Twitch
on
and they
Twitch.
should be available on YouTube later too, I think.
Right.
Yep. Thank you. Welcome so much. It's yeah. Thank you so much for showing up. How many? We have 36 people watching. This is amazing.
Roughly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
been pretty
It's
steady.
yep. Thank you so much for coming
Let's
here.
see.
Yep.
Uh, Maps. So we've been kind of jumping around
Yeah.
talking
Now
about
we're
maps.
jumping around, taking a whole bunch of questions and
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm going to recheck the
The what?
yep. Go down here and Legends and Lore Show and go to yep. I was thinking we should I you talked about your projects in detail and I only mentioned that I'm going to do and I can talk just a few minutes about my ongoing projects and
All
so
right.
I made this map has been in the making since 1997 and this is the
It's like
latest
before the internet, wasn't it?
yeah.
No.
Yep. So it's been and this is the latest 2018 edition. That I've tweaked the terrain a bit and stuff. And now I'm going to start it all over again. And so I have for future I have several different projects that relates to Greyhawk. One is to try and map the whole planet in sketch it out. So when I map the Flannies next time again, I want to make sure that I get it right globally, so Flannies will actually be in the right spot where it is. So I actually can expand into other areas as need be. And that's one of the things. And the other one is that I want to start using geographical information technology. So when I enter things like roads and borders and whatnot, I don't need to enter them more than once. So I build a database of information and I can simply merge it together and then create whatever. I can have stylish, different styles for different purposes. So that way I don't have to sit and start doing every map from scratch. That makes it much more efficient. And you can publish things to be used in PDF form on the internet, printed form, and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I also want to simply post all that data in as shape files or stuff. So you can take a GIS client, and there's one called QGIS that is open source. So you can take my source files and you can tweak them, and you can put your names on it, and you can shift borders as needed and stuff like that. So one of the main goals, apart from making new maps, is also to make maps that are much more usable and tweakable. So every GM, if you run your games in Greyhawk, you could take all my data and you can kind of move it around and add things and remove things and so on as needed. That's one of the main goals, is to make the information way more accessible. So
JB is talking about the Earth being flat. Well, next thing you're going to tell me the Earth goes, the sun goes around
yeah,
Earth.
yeah, this is interesting. That I had a wonderful
Heresy.
wonderful lunch. I've heard that there's some people that have the theory that Earth is flat, and I don't believe them, because I've seen there's enough evidence in all the books and the writings and not that is not flat. It's actually round.
No.
So yeah. But you can flat. I would love if it is flat. Midgard is, according to some sources that whisper in my ear, is flat, which makes it much easier to map. Flat worlds are fantastic to map.
I could probably make an argument for flat Earth,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe
Yeah.
for another day.
So that
Nah.
will be, yeah, that's so much fun. And I had a wonderful lunch like a month ago in San Diego with a couple of my friends down there, and she is so into one of my friends. She's so into all the astronomy and stuff that she had calculated that the Earth calendar is wrong. It shouldn't work
Oh
that way.
no. Yeesh.
Yeah. So there is a lot of
Math.
different takes on this, but in my opinion, I think it should be round. It's kind of it's kind of cool that way.
Let's see. What's up with Cob Darg, the
Oh,
ruler of Iron Gate? Gate. Uh,
You know more about Iron Gate than I do.
I think Cob Darg is half human, half dwarf,
Oh, okay.
or he's a polymorph dragon, one or the other. I'm going to
Oh.
lean towards polymorph dragon,
Mm-hmm.
although given where
Yeah.
he lives, him having dwarven heritage would make kind of some sense
Yeah.
why
Mm-hmm.
Iron is in
Yeah.
such good standing with the
Yeah.
dwarves. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because there are a lot of
Take your
dwarfs
pick.
in the area. So, and one of the most kind of forgotten kingdoms, the kingdom of the Iron Hills. That's something that is just mentioned,
Hmm.
but it's not written as a separate country in the original setting, but
Yeah,
it's
Iron Hills is a large area.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting. It's one of these areas that is mentioned but then forgotten about.
Half dragon, half dwarf, half human.
Oh, yeah.
uh, Yeah. Oh, what do you think about gray space, Anna? Someone mentioned
Oh,
gray
I was
space.
just going to say, oh, that's tough. I've never
No,
adventured in Gray Space or Spelljammer,
just a
so
little bit.
so yeah. So I'm kind of I have now I would need my friend David Shepherd in England. He is a Gray Space master that way. He
Yeah.
he 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 plays a lot in Spelljammer and loves Spelljammer. So
I mean, after you've mapped the whole, world of Greyhawk twice over, wouldn't
yeah.
you try on a different planet?
Oh no, for me, then
Yeah.
we have the different planes, and
Oh.
that's where I want to go. We have Underdark, and then after Underdark we have the different planes, and I want
Oh.
to the Graz home domain. Mesa Fragdun on the 333rd layer of Abyss.
Ooh.
That's one of my
Really?
that I want to map. Yes. And
I
how about a
want.
city map of Sigil is another one that I would
Oh.
love to do.
Yeah. You're crazy.
Yeah.
No, I want an underwater map. I want you to map everything that's under the Azure Sea.
That's true. Yeah.
You know,
But map
all
the
the.
oceans is part of it, and I'll dig up. We have to dig into even more about cartography in future episodes, and I'll show. I've done some test maps that I can map out the ocean and
Oh,
ocean depths and
nice.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
So we will have to dig in deeper into cartography for future episodes. Definitely. Yep.
So Matt Anna's maps are planned out until she's 90 years old.
Oh yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yep.
Let's see. Oh, JB wants us to be more specific, not just human. I
Yep.
guess he would be Oridian.
Ah. Yeah. Yep. And then we
Uh,
have do the map of the jungles of Selene. Yes, that Selene is one of my favorite places on the planet. I'm a big uh, fan of the elves. A lot of people don't
oh,
players don't seem to like elves, and I love elves. So Selene is one of my favorite spots, and it's kind of overlooked a bit. So I would love to do and to do Enstad and the royal palace gardens and stuff of Enstad is one of my that I dream about mapping in a few years time. Definitely. Yep. I want to
oh
have
boy.
landscape pictures from Selene. That would be one of my favorites. Yep. Oh, good.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. I have some fans in that loves elves and Celine. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
yeah. Apparently, Celine's very popular. I
hmm
think they used Celine in on the Greyhawk channel, Birthright of
Yes, they've been
March.
visiting Queen Yolandi and talked to her and stuff. So yep. So we need to exactly. Yeah,
Celine
Ryan
is a
Glade.
shadow
I totally
of
agree
its
that
former self.
yeah that she's very too isolationist. But in my campaign, that's what the Knights of Luna and Prince Melf are doing. They are basically running a separate foreign policy, and they are the
Mm.
ones out helping the good guys in the world and stuff. So in my campaign, they have that, and they have a gold dragon that they cooperate. That is that I forgot
Old
the
dragon.
name of now that is called. Hang on a second. I have to zoom in here. So let's go to the
Old
map
dragon, you
again.
say?
Let's see here. Yeah, we have. This is my version of the Oh, here we go. My version of Celine. So I have Arkail is the gold dragon that is part of the setting of and the landscape of Celine, and he's one of
Hmm.
Bahamut's friends and cohorts. So I've
Ah,
mapped out some of it. Yeah, and here we have the talking about heraldry. Here we have the Knights of Luna Shield and stuff. So yep, and there is some other yeah. So this is so yeah, so it's kind of here we have and yeah, this is one of my favorite spots, but it's a little bit boring because it's such a good realm that it. But the good thing is that they're evil next door at Sus Forest and stuff. So yeah,
Ali, come you bet.
mm-hmm. Yep,
Hey, I got an important elf question for you, Anna.
mm-hmm.
Do elves sleep in beds or do they sleep in trees?
I would say that they sleep in trees, but they I would say hammock in the trees is probably
Hammock?
that will be my if I were an elf there
Eh.
as I envision it, they will make a hammock up in the trees in their tree house. So, but some of them probably
Awesome.
become so civilized that they make beds if it gets cold and so on. But it,
Ah,
yeah, but on the other hand, they are probably so powerful that they control the climate, so the climate is always
so
wonderful
it's always
and
just
yeah,
nice. They can
so
sleep.
yeah, so and you see they have these. They basically dress in pajamas, so it kind of you
Oh,
just
they're
lay down
always in
in
their
yeah
pajamas.
yeah you can see like Lord of the
Wonderful.
Rings and stuff. Look at the elves; they walk around in like a shirt or something that just
Year
looks like a
round. Yeah,
pajamas. Yeah, year round. It's
that's
always summer
hilarious.
and wonderful,
Oh,
and
that's true.
yeah, and even the
Ryan Glea's
moonlight
right. They
is
don't really sleep
no,
either.
they just lay
No,
down and do some philosophy
just
and think about things.
lazy
So yeah,
around.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't really see that making all that effort to build a piece of furniture that for for
Ah,
for something they don't really do. So they just have
makes
like a futon or a
sense.
hammock or something and sit there and have their reverie and that's how I
This
envision them.
question turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, yep. That's my idea of elvendom and
Uh,
their sleeping habits. Yep.
yeah, I'll be darned.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the chat is with you on that.
Okay, good, good. It's happy. It's so wonderful to see that I have some elven support in this. Yep.
Yeah. We're
Oh,
really,
second edition elven hammocks. This is yep.
that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Or
it's
as we
awesome.
used to call it, the Book of Elvis.
Oh, oh, this is awesome. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you so much, guys. This is great. I get support from the in this. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. So,
Um,
what time wise? Yeah, we're done an hour and a half. So, yep.
really good.
Yep, we're doing good. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, well, we could just keep fielding questions or leave a little for next time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we can plug what we set out to talk about for next time, and that was my idea originally. But so if it's a bad idea, you know to blame me. And I will simply say that we probably through the Greyhawk channel we might have a whole bunch of players who never been playing in Greyhawk before. So we wanted to kind of plug a little bit, talk about how to get into start playing in Greyhawk. If you want to run your games in Greyhawk, what kind of products, what resources and stuff is there to
A primer on Grayhawk.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So
If you
so
will.
to list some of and thanks to drive through and some of the other resources now there is plenty of stuff to get that you can actually buy and get that get you started in Greyhawk.
We'll go into a lot of detail on
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep. The different
Yes, Grayhawk
epochs and stuff.
101.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think that will be
No,
a
sorry,
good.
JB. We'll talk about militaries some other time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's one thing because there's a lot of tradition
Mhm.
old going back. If you go back to the first versions of oldest Greyhawk supplements and the first Gazetteer and stuff that was published, there was a lot of standing armies, and that was basically, I guess, because back in the day, role playing came from wargaming when using miniatures. So
Yeah, it's a war game world.
yeah,
Okay,
hmm
on the
yeah, and
surface.
Gary and some of the other ones that started this, they came from the wargaming community. So for them, I guess it was natural to have big battles with lots of miniatures and stuff. So yeah.
All right. Let's see. We'll be trying to follow up on some of the Greyhawk channel other shows going
hmm
on, and what's going on in those campaigns, perhaps
Yep. Mm-hmm.
covering some of the areas that they're adventuring in.
Yep.
Um, so we'll be talking to DM Shane a lot
Yeah,
in that respect.
we need to, and I need to watch all the other shows so I can stay more
Well, there's so
up to
many of
date.
them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's like a half-time job. So yeah, I can do that while I'm
Well,
mapping.
every day of the week, pretty much either day or night, you're going to
Hmm.
run into some Greyhawk campaign, which is awesome. There's so many
Yep.
good DMs out there, and I'll talk about you DMs some other show. There's a lot of them. Uh, but anything else, Anna?
Well, we have a whole bunch of questions. Let's hope I can. That was
Oh,
said in. Yep, we have a whole bunch of wonderful topics that the all the members of forgotten the Flanese Geographical Society told us,
oh,
and
that's right.
yeah, so we have.
I'm ready.
Yeah, so we have one said that I remember that was really cool. Let's see if I can find. One we have that Scott Morgan, he asked, how about placing Mystara on Earth next to Greyhawk? Is that possible? And how might things work out? That's something that we need to discuss in a
Yes.
future episode because there is
The answer is yes.
yeah, the Earth is big enough so you can probably fit it there. But that follows a good tradition because I've seen a lot of different maps where they try to puzzle together all the different fantasy worlds next to each other. So Midgard is up there, and Middle Earth, and you have the realms from World of Warcraft, and so on and so forth. So that's an interesting take because you can
Yeah.
make the Flannies just sitting next door and part of some other setting. So, and
Well,
there's yeah.
yeah, we'll go into that. Sorry, JB, who is distraught by this. The World of Greyhawk is already a patchwork quilt of
Mm-hmm.
stuff,
Yep.
whether you throw in a star or not.
Yeah, and we had Frank Menser, who was promised by Gary that he could put his realm over the seas, over the Solnor Ocean somewhere,
Yeah.
and run that separately. And that's one example of
Oh,
other
yeah.
worlds and other parts of the planet that has been kind of decked off for other campaigns.
So, what else is the Geographic Society asking?
Let's see here. We have. Oh, we need to have some. We need to go into all the gates and portals of the city of Greyhawk. So that's something we need to. So we need to take a walk down Odd
The normal
Alley.
gates or the magical gates?
Probably both of them.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
but and we need to take a walk through down Odd Alley and look at the different ones. So the city of Greyhawk is definitely something we need to kind of go into in the future episode, and the different versions of the city of Greyhawk
Oh,
needs to be
yeah.
digged because
Mm,
that's a hot
all
potato
right.
we need to at least mention to people so they don't step into it unwittingly without knowing
Sure.
that this is a contentious topic. And speaking of Greyhawk, we have the castle of Greyhawk that is one of the iconic locations of the
Oh,
setting that deserves its own treatment because that has a
mega dungeons.
yeah, exactly, mega dungeon, and it has a history and it has a post life, so to speak, past its due dates, and it's still
Hmm.
being published in weird shapes and forms. So that's something to dig into too in a future episode. And then we have, of course, the twin cataclysms with the invoked devastation and
Oh,
the
yeah.
rain of colorless fire. And who struck the first blow? That was specifically a question. Andy
Probably answer
Markham.
that.
He yeah,
And who won
yeah, mm-hmm,
that war?
yeah.
I have strong opinions on that.
Okay, wonderful.
That's for
Mm-hmm.
another day.
Yeah, that's a whole episode to dig into it. And then we have another tied into that is that actually literally changed the landscape of the Flannies. So that's another side of the story that we need to talk about in the future. And then
So
yeah,
many topics.
um, we
Oh,
have
JB.
yeah, we have the The Tangles. It's a little forest north of the Rift Canyon.
What about the Tangles?
The Tangle seems to be, it's been described as something that Ius is trying to chop away because there's a whole bunch of his enemies are hiding in there and use it as a base of operations. And let's see, I'm going to switch to the map screen
I
again.
use deforesting someplace?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly. So that's and so this is an area that it's Tangles and it's described as jungle, and it's kind of far up north.
Is
So
this
someone asked like,
thick?
do they have jungles that far north?
I don't know.
And there are cold rainforests. You can just look at the Washington State and the Seattle area is a cold rainforest. So and
Cold
that could
rain.
be described as a jungle. So there are certainly, and there are parts of Europe too that are,
So it
uh,
has to do with rainfall?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So they have cold. It's I don't think you will normally call them a jungle, but in more kind of proper scientific terms, it's a rainforest because you have cold rainforest. You have cold rainforest in northwest of the United States in Seattle area. You have them in parts of Scandinavia along the coast. You have the same thing. It's cold, but and temperate, or really cold temperate, but it rains a lot. You also have rainforest up on the slopes of the Himalayas. There you have cold
None of that.
rainforest that is not jungle in the tropical sense, but it's dense forest full of life and stuff. So
There's a,
there are precedents in the real
huh,
world for rainforest even in non-tropical areas. So the tangles might be, and in my take of a fantasy world is that there are other forces. You have elemental forces, for instance, that might influence things because my take on a fantasy world like Greyhawk or the Earth, that it's made up not maybe not of atoms and quarks and protons and neutrons and stuff like our real world, but you have elemental particles. Things are actually made up of earth and fire and water and air. And if you have a little bit more water or kind of watery influence and a bit more fiery influence, then you can get an area to be warmer and wetter than it should be by climate alone, or vice versa. It can be drier. You can have the bright desert is a good example of an area that had.
Taka's asking about that.
Okay,
The Bright Desert. You
yeah,
lift the curse.
yeah,
What will it become in 100 years?
that's the thing, because in my campaign it's already started. The landscape around it is creeping in, so to speak. But if you take a look at it actually, the bright desert is roughly where deserts will be on the planet Earth. So
So it
it's not,
should be natural.
it's kind of, I would say, semi-natural. And
Okay.
so for me, I my guess is, or my take on it would be that it will be plains. It will be like grassy, barren, like dry steppe
Okay.
like landscape. And the reason that's the same landscape you have over here in southern Nyrond. And here you have, see, I zoom in a bit. Here you have the dry, grassy plains, like savanna landscape. Very few trees, just dry. And then if you go west here we have the Nat Marsh, where the Nesser River and the Duntide River forms this delta, and it's getting. That's why it's wet. And then you have the Brightlands, and then west of it here, I'd say that the elves have a kind of influence. They lived here for centuries, maybe even probably many millennia, and they have kind of shaped the climate. They have a lot of
All right.
intricate, yeah. So in my take of it is that it's kind of that makes it much more habitable, so to speak. They have created that area of wonderful growth and so on. And north of it here, and that spreads this way. And then you have, if we go west again, we have the Sheldomar Valley, which is kind of a special case again, because
River valleys.
yeah, because you have the all the enormous mountain chain to the west here, and when they drain the water, it flows down here and it creates a lot of good habitat for forests and all sorts of living things to prosper. So that's my take on geography, so to
That's
speak. But
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, just a quick footnote on this is Gary and Darling or whoever created this map, the world, for the world of Greyhawk, and it's been the fans' job ever since to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
either in a
Yep.
real world or magical
Mm-hmm.
explanations for
Yep.
everything,
Yep.
because it doesn't always make sense.
Yep. Okay. So do we have any? You keep a good eye on the chat here, and I'll
Oh
switch
yeah,
us back to this. Yep.
they're going on about the desert and Bright Desert. Bright Desert's a really interesting place.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
The
And
Mary the Trader came out, that really opened up a whole new area of the map that I never even touched. You know, the Bright Desert was just the Bright Desert. There was
yep.
nothing we knew about it until
Yep.
that book came out.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other good things with the bright lands or the bright desert is that it's a wilderness and kind of a weird, strange, cool, epic area that is close to other areas. So you don't have to travel
Yeah,
5,000 miles to get there. It's like you can take a ship and go a day, couple of days, or you can wander a few days and you're there. So you have civilized lands close by. You have the city of Greyhawk, you have the Ernst, and so on. So it's one of these cool areas that just like the Pomarsh is another one of my favorites that way that you
so much
can.
variety
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah, and you have a lot of evils and interesting, cool things, adventure possibilities next door.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's
Yep,
see.
yep. Do we have any more cool questions?
I don't know.
I'm looking over
Any
the notes
strange
from.
out there questions?
Yep. Uh, oh, we have one. Michelle Toscan. He asked like the
All right.
evolution of armors over the year or armor. And
Armor,
yeah, and that to me touches something. How about the technology? Is Yeah,
technology.
I
Yeah.
banned in my campaign. I banned gunpowder. That doesn't exist. It chemically doesn't work. Period. But armor is another interesting thing. So yeah.
I've done one or two blog articles about gunpowder and Greyhawk, and I'm pro gunpowder.
Oh,
Much
cool.
to the,
Yeah, because there
I'm
is,
sure,
yeah,
yeah.
and
See, you know,
you
like,
have the right to be because
no, I'm
Merlin,
pro.
exactly, there are canon references to Merlin had his
Uh,
6 shooters and so on. So, yep. So I'm,
Even
yeah.
aside from Merlin, I think it's abundantly
Yeah,
clear.
you
It,
have, yeah, I'm the one that, and it's just my private because I know you're right. There's a lot of canon references and history and stuff about it. So, yep.
I'll repost that article
Yep. Mm-hmm.
sometime.
Yep.
I did a lot of research on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so you're right. It's just that I keep my right to do it my way for my
Now,
personal campaign. Yeah,
the reason to not have it though is because it's supposed to imbalance a magic campaign where you can throw
yeah,
fireballs and
yeah.
bolts and whatnot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nah, and yeah,
For me, it's just a way to separate different genres of I like my fantasy role play to be fantasy and I don't like to mix the genres much, but others love for good reason love to mix their genres. And we have the adventure like the Barrier Peaks where it's like a crash landed old spaceships and you have
yes,
robots
there's a
and
lot of
also stuff. Hmm.
genre
Yep. Hmm.
mashups.
Yep. So and some players love that for good reasons, and I'm one of the players, and that's one of the interesting things. I don't mind playing in a game like that, but I don't like to run them. So
Sure,
yeah, so that's one
yeah,
of the things. I love to run games one way, and then I like to play games other ways.
but
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope to start talking about technology of a medieval world in your
yeah.
campaign because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I might have pirate ships here. It's like talking about ship technology. Should there
Yeah.
be galleons in
Mm-hmm.
Greyhawk? Should there be plate mail armor along
Yeah.
Greyhawk? Whatever you feel like.
Yep, exactly. And that was one of the, I think, the cool thing. There is a lot of, that was especially originally left out to the GMs and the players to flesh out. And then over the years, these gaps have been filled with more and more content, especially during the Living Greyhawk. Carl Sargent started that with from the ashes when he kind of turned upside down a lot of things and moved the setting forward a bit.
Uh,
Let's see. I'm going to you can
yeah,
look through chat
that's
there,
a
and I'm going to look
that's a
and see.
contentious question.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh,
Do.
Looking for a weird question like, what's
Yeah.
Twerny's favorite sandwich?
Do you know about the Kendall Keep from the module
Kendall,
I9 or X11? Kendall Keep? I don't know.
Kendall Keep.
Yep.
I would have
Yeah,
to
that was
research that.
Josh Pop, and he's been on
Well
and
done,
had some
Josh.
awesome questions the last couple of weeks on
But
he's
what's the
kept
question?
that was the placement of the Kendall Keep.
Placement of it. Okay, I
Yeah.
believe that's in the Wild Coast, though.
Okay.
I think.
Uh-huh.
I think
Hang on a
Kendall Keep
second.
is supposed to be set somewhere in that
Yeah,
central
so we have the
region.
Wild Coast here. One of the oldest location, I think, the ones that Gary developed the first when he went from the city of Greyhawk down the Wild Coast, because it's one of the most talked about areas of Greyhawk.
Now you did say Kendall Keep,
Yeah,
or was it
Kendall.
Candle Keep?
No, Kendall.
Kendall. That's
Kendall.
what,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too. All right,
Hmm.
not
Yep.
Candle Keep.
No, it's
Sarah.
Kendall. Yeah. Yeah, from I9 or X11. So that's something to dig into for. We have to collect some of these and then do research on them to next week. So, yep. Do.
Yes. Furiani is full of peasants.
Yeah, and then we have one of the kind of areas that I both love and hate about Greyhawk, and that's Perrinland. Yeah,
Hate. What's
yeah.
up with the hate?
Well, no, I started out loving it, and let's zoom
Okay.
in. It's a bit up here in the northwest, tucked in between the Yatil Mountains and the
Mm-hmm.
Klatsburg Range.
Mm-hmm.
And from the beginning in the old, I loved them. And then Living Greyhawk came around and turned it into some sort of Switzerland, Germany with
Switzerland.
names that was kind of off the rails.
But it's
Yeah,
the cantons of Pearland. It's always
yeah,
been that
yeah.
way.
So it's like,
So
yeah,
what
but
else are you gonna think?
yeah, but it was a bit too modern like for me. And the problem is
Oh,
that I'm from Sweden. It's next door to Germany,
and
so it
you
was too close
know,
to home. So
but
it didn't feel like too much
I don't
real
really
world for me.
can.
Yeah, so I had a hang up with it, but otherwise I love the geography and I love that kind of country tucked
Yeah,
away from things, and there's a lot of adventure possibilities here. So and we have
there's actually a Greyhawk channel campaign going on right now called Uprising in the
oh
Pearlands.
okay
Yep.
yep
But yeah, Pearland's a place I would like to run a campaign because of the way it's, like you said, nestled in those
hmm
mountains, and
yep.
it's kind of
You can have a lot
separated
of
from
you
everything.
can have hex crawls, monster hunts, and giants and a whole
And it
bunch of
is
stuff.
ruled
Yeah.
by the Witch Queen of
Yep.
Pearland.
Hmm. And you
Exactly.
have dwarves. There's a lot of dwarven kingdoms and lands up here in the northwest, and then you have the elven lands of High Folk and the Vespe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
The
lot of
nomad
demi-human in influence.
stuff going
That
on.
yeah, and you have the barbarians and others
I
from the
keep
the 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 Shakik, the tiger nomads, and the wolf nomads. So that opens up for barbarians, rangers with their
it's kind of
animal companions. So
yeah.
there's a lot of possibilities. Yep, there's a lot of
I
cool
like
things, and there's enough wilderness, hilltops, glaciers, whatnot for dragons to
okay.
live in, and so on. So yep, so it's a wonderful area to that you can put in almost anything. The kitchen sink of adventuring can fit in around here easily. Yep. And there's some iconic locations if you take here in the southern
A lot.
Yatils. There's a whole bunch of really cool. You have the what was they called, the Zoikant, the Lost Caverns of Zoikant, or how do you pronounce it?
I say Saj Camp.
Ah, Saishkant. Yeah, they are around here, and you have the Temple of Thoristun. You have the Igwilf's horn is an Igwilf. She used to run. She used to run Pearland, did she?
Uh
Or
huh. Uh
for a
huh.
while, yeah. And and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the Igwil's horn, one of the mountain tops here, is named after her. And you have Mount Gerast, and there's a whole bunch of
A
cool
lot
things.
going on there.
Yeah, and the
The
terrain
Mound of
itself
Dawn.
is just awesome in itself. So if you want a mountain campaign close to civilized areas, this is awesome. And you have things like the Dragon Tail, Wyvern's Tail Pass that goes
Hmm.
between Ket and Perenland, and just to escort a caravan going across could be a mini
Yeah.
campaign in itself.
I
With
think there
yeah,
is a dungeon magazine adventure that was set in Pearland that does
yeah,
exactly that.
hmm
And I can't
yep.
remember the name of it now, but
Yep, that's why
I
I took
did
a lot
run
of
it.
the detail from here, from the city of
I
Crestable to
want to say it was called
Molver.
Racing the Snake or
Yeah, or
something
something
like
like
that.
that. Yep. So this is, yeah, it's really this is a perfect area for a whole lot of adventuring. And you have elven forests in the east here that on the slopes that you can have all sorts of cool encounters with. And then you have Ayus next door to that, so it's crammed in with adventure possibilities.
Bards of Greyhawk. What have you climbed?
Sorry.
No, I was just reading the chat.
Ah,
Never
okay.
mind.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh yes, yeah. Brian Bloomclots, he said the purple shield with two lightning bolts is my word. Yes, that's his, and it's awesome. Yep. Yep.
well, we're almost come up on 9 p.m. Central,
Yeah.
and we're doing good.
Yeah. So we
Haven't
still,
run out of stuff.
well, we can babble for ages. It's not that, but yeah,
Right.
it's just that we don't bore people out with being too geeky and this.
Correct.
Yep.
What else is going on?
Oh, someone, Bavix have found a portal in a manor just north of Greyhawk City linked to the Forgotten Temple of Thuriston. Bavix, is that from the adventure, The Forgotten Realms of Thuriston? That thing that is, I thought would be a huge campaign, but it's just one of these small, short things they ran at conventions, I think. It's a tiny
Lies and
little adventure.
rumors.
Yeah, it's a tiny little adventure, but it's kind of has an awesome
Oh,
potential. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I think I have a copy of the original adventure sitting here on the shelf somewhere. So we need to dig through old
Great.
cool classics and have a show about that in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and find some of these old rare gems or gems and show them.
Really, really rare stuff.
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see what we have more here. Let's see.
More stuff from Facebook.
Yep, we'll see here what we have. We have the and then we have one thing is that new Corazia is something that was actually put in a novel that was published during the 3.5 era, and that was supposed to be set in Greyhawk, and no one knows where it is. And they even had a map made, and so someone asked where should we place this, and it's not canon, but it's almost canon by default because it was published as no one said where it was set, but since Greyhawk was a
Oh,
standard world, and it was not set anywhere else. So that was someone, they ran a discussion over at the Piazza British forum, and they talked about it. So that one, yeah. But Oryx is an enormous place, so that might be spot over for Curazia in somewhere else in. So we'll see. I can take the map and maybe we can make a small area of the Earth somewhere appropriate to look like it or something. We'll see.
someone asked earlier where Tragador's at. The
Tragador?
terrible trouble at Tragador, I think, was the adventure.
Oh, I've heard about that,
Something
but
like
I'm
that.
not really
Yeah.
sure what that. Where is
I'm
that
going to
set?
say that is in the Theocracy of the Pale.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. Let's see. Let's
So there
go
you go.
up to.
Answer.
Yep. Let's go up to the theocracy. I'll get over the map over here, and let's switch back to the map. Here we have the. I think it's wasn't that we had one adventure that is set up there is set in
It
Tristor.
was a RPGA adventure or something like that that only members received,
Okay,
and
then
it was
I
like
wasn't a
early
member of
third
that,
edition.
so that's interesting. Then I have to I have to make a note. How is it spelled?
Trag,
Let's see.
Tragidore.
Ah, yes. Now I've seen it.
Is it on there?
Nope, it's not. So I
No,
need
that's
to.
a Friday Trister. Damn it!
Oh, it is the Friday Tristor.
Now I was confusing with Fright
Yeah,
of Trister.
yeah, because the Friday
I thought
Tristor
that was
is yeah,
Tragador.
that one is on my map. It's over here by the
Okay,
troll fence. So yeah.
Tragador was in the DM screen. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, I put Tristor between the Griff Watch Castle and the Castle
I don't know where
Ardundalet.
Tragador's at then.
Yeah, so I don't know either, but I put it in the map notes, so I'll try and find out
Yeah,
and dig into. I put all the
just
I
for trying.
digitized as much as I
Just for
could
fun.
of Grayhawk stuff and put it in Evernote, and so I'll search for it and let's see
Ooh,
if I
well
can.
done. TSR 9263.
Okay.
Cool.
No, I don't get any match. Let's see, map notes. TSR
Anna will find a spot for it. That's what she
63.
does.
Yep, we'll see. Yep. So let's see here. Copy. I'll have to search and see what
Boy.
that is. Okay, that I got 9 different hits reference to that
You're
product.
searching
So
it now?
yeah, so they're good. Now I have some reference to go
Oh,
on. So yep, now
oh,
I have
okay.
9 different old Dragon magazines to read through and see if I can find
Oh,
something.
man.
That's usually the problem when you research this. People think that doing the map is the hard bit, but often you can require 2 days of reading just to place one damn little village somewhere. Because like this, now I know I have to read 9 Dragon magazines to see if I can come up with it.
Uh,
So
it's a rabbit hole.
yeah, so often research is 90% of the time, and the actual mapping might sometimes only be 10% of the time. Oh, okay. Tragedor. Let's see here. Map notes. Tragedor. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Terrible trouble at Tragedor.
I got a
At Tragedor. Perfect. Thank you so much. Now you've given me more stuff to do. So I have 145 more locations to research for the new update. So that's what I have to do in October. So my goal is to have that all done in October, and I will probably send you a email or two, or shoot you a message or two with a couple of locations, because there are some places that I realize need more research than I can put into it. So, and I will make some questions and send emails to people I think are more qualified to do some of the research on this. Okay, any more interesting questions here?
My brain's full.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't even know what 9263 is. So TSR
That's the
9260.
product code
Yeah, I
for it.
know it's a product code, but I don't know which product it is. So I don't know if I
Oh,
have it or not, but I
that's
I
true.
might have
Right,
it.
right,
So
right.
yeah. So a Google search on that might be, see, sorry, 9263, and we'll see what we come up with here.
I think Baltron's Beacon is in the Hool Marshes.
Yes, Baltron Beacon is. I placed Baltron's beacon down here somewhere. If I can find it, it's somewhere down here at the down here. Bale Keep.
He's an amazing man.
It's somewhere down here. I forgot where, but it's
By the Sea Princes. Between the Sea Princes and the rest of the Keeland areas.
okay. Yeah, it's somewhere down here, but I forgot where. Yeah,
Somewhere
there it
there. I
is.
think
There
it,
it is. There it is. It's the ruins of
yeah,
Baltron's Beacon.
it's
Yep.
on the Dragon map.
Yep. It's here. Yep. Zoom in a bit. There it is. Baltron's Beacon. Yep. I've never played in that adventure, but I
Me
have
neither.
played in most of them. But I have the adventure, and it's a cool picture illustration on the outside and stuff. So yeah. And now we're looking at my campaign map. So there are some areas in here that are probably more of them than the
Right.
and the village of Bracken is the latest addition to the map that I put in there yesterday, and it should be on the public map as well. So if I zoom down here, and yeah, Bracken is, this is the official version. And this
Hey,
area
Anna,
is not
has
that
Darlene
different.
seen your map?
Sorry?
Has Darlene seen your
Oh
maps
yes,
before?
yeah, oh yeah. I've shown her the map, and we met at GaryCon this year. So yeah, so I had a chance to talk to her, and that was awesome. And yeah, so it's fantastic. And she has a Patreon, and so that you should support that one. She brings up some cool old content, and she's also working on the Greyhawk font. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have the beta version. So that's the font that is used for the logo up here. I've used that one. So hopefully we can have some more Greyhawk fonts and stuff available for the community soon.
It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I've always wanted.
Yep. So
Is
the
be able to use
Greyhawk
that font.
Gothic font. So it's in
Mm-hmm.
beta testing now. So yep. So it will be hopefully available soon for everyone to play with and for use in their adventures and stuff.
Um, no,
Okay, now we're coming up on two
we're
hours.
yeah, I think we're about at
Yeah, that level will
the end
be,
of
yeah.
this.
So this was the first inaugural episode of Legends and Lore. So I hope you enjoyed it and that you will come back next week because we will try and dig in a little bit more focus next week.
Greyhawk primers.
Yes, exactly. On how to get into the setting, what kind of base products are still available that you can get,
What
and what
is
resources
Greyhawk?
you go
Greyhawk.
in and some of the overview of the different areas of Greyhawk and products for different areas, what you can dig into. Yep. So thank you all of you so many. We've had 40 people watching tonight. That's awesome. That's
You
way more than I was hoping that we would get. So thank you so
guys are
much.
wonderful.
Yep, exactly. Wonderful. And thank you so much,
Good
all of
input.
you, for all the awesome questions you've thrown at us. And I hope that you come back and throw more. And you can send, we have our Twitter handles just under our video images here. So please send us more questions and stuff that we can research for future
Or
episodes.
if you're on Discord for the Greyhawk channel,
Hmm.
just chat with us.
Yeah, exactly. We will go there now and be on Discord for a bit. So thank you so much, and see you next week.
World of Greyhawk.
Awesome. That is perfect. So thank you so much.